Hey everybody, just getting ready to start in a moment. Hang tight. Oh my gosh, we're streaming into Smoothie Shred. I'm so excited. Okay, and here's Instagram. All right, some days everything just works. Isn't that so cool? All right, sweet. Hey everyone, it's Dr. Brooke Goldner from Goodbye Lupus, and it's Wednesday, so I'm here to hang out with you and to answer your questions about health, hopefully give you some good information and encouragement to take the steps you need to take to be healthier, to be happier, to live fully. I'm here for all of those things. And I really love spending this time with all of you. And I've got to say, it's been so rich for me too, getting to spend so much time vaccine appointments again. You know, I took some time off for family, and I'm back to my one-on-one appointments, and I just finished one with someone so lovely. I swear, when I get to meet you guys, I just want to spend all day with each of you. It usually ends up being about 90 minutes or so, but boy, I just really love it. I love being able to connect. And what I also love is nowadays, when I meet people for the first time, they already know a lot of what I'm going to say. I mean, I just need to hear you say it. But they know the protocol because I've been teaching it for free for years, or they've read my books, or they've come to all the Q&As, they're in Smoothie Shred. And so they have all this information, and that lets me spend this time to really help them dig in deep to find out what's wrong. So for some folks, it literally is that they misunderstood something or they're not applying things correctly. Most of the time, there's something that they're holding back about. They're holding back in their food. They're holding back in how they stick to it. The wonderful person I just got off the line with was, tells everyone to do my program, but yet for herself holds back, doesn't do it 100%, right? Maybe some of you can relate to that, but it is the most profound thing that I can really help people with is overcoming the mental and emotional hurdles, because really the nutrition plan itself is very straightforward and simple, and we teach it every day and in a very concrete, accessible way. Whether you got a book on Amazon, you watched my classes online, you watched them when they were free, or you bought lifetime access, or just coming to all my Q&As and watching my videos. Many people, including some of you posting here, have already been able to reverse your diseases for free, right? Which is awesome. And then there's folks who's like, I got all the information, but there's a place I'm stuck. And that's the rich part of life, right? Is that this thing here, this thing right at the top of our body, that it controls so much of our life. It controls how we experience the world. It controls our happiness, our stress. It controls our motivation, or whether we give up. It all comes to this. And when this is on board, nothing can stop you, right? I want all of you that are struggling now to think about if there was ever a time in your life where you were stuck, or not even that, a time in your life when you wanted something and you worked really hard to get it. Most people can think of something, whether it was getting their grade up in school or getting into a good school or something, that you have it in you, that you've been able to grind, as we call it nowadays, and get there. We have that in us. And when we've made the decision that it's worth it to go full stream ahead, you can lock in and you can go. And so I thought maybe that's where we could start today, is talking about, and people always tell me that's their favorite coaching. It's really talking about the things that hold people back from being able to do that. But the person I was talking to today, let's see if any of you relate to it. You can always chat with me in the comment. She is so afraid of failing that she doesn't let herself go in 100%. Any of you relate to that? See if any of you relate to that idea that, like, if I only do 80% and I give up, or if I do 80% and I don't get better, it's not because I failed. There's still hope. I just need to go 100%. Or if I get 80% and I do get results, which she did, she got really good results, but not 100% yet. That's good enough, because I don't want to try too hard and then fail. So you guys relate to that? What she calls it and what a lot of people, this is an illness that I help people heal from. She diagnosed herself as a perfectionist, right? How many of you have this illness, right, of perfectionism? So Heather's saying confusion gets in the way, and V saying my problem is the water, right? That sometimes people will get locked into this idea that, well, I'm just a perfectionist. And I always correct that, because perfectionism, well, if you're truly a perfectionist, it's not a source of stress. I had a neighbor who just had a baby shower. I have never seen anything like it. Everything was on theme. The color of the drinks matched the color of her dress, matched the color of the napkins. Everything had the initials. Everything was themed, the shape of the food. I have never seen anything like it. It was the most like Virgo OCD, like style. It was amazing. I was in awe. And I said, did you do this? She goes, yeah, I did it all myself. And I said, was it stressful? She goes, no, I love it. She's a perfectionist. For real. She loves when everything is just right, but it's exciting and fun for her. That would make me miserable if I was trying to make everything perfect, everything had to match, everything just, I couldn't do that. It was just too much. So when people call themselves perfectionists and they are in distress, it's not that you enjoy perfection. It's not. It is actually a fear of rejection. When you call yourself a perfectionist, when you are frantically trying to stress yourself out in order to avoid people seeing your flaws, in order to give people an appearance that you can do no wrong, that you're perfect, that is not about enjoying perfectionism. That is about fear. And the fear is, if they see me as I am, if I don't do things perfectly, then I am not lovable and I'm not worthy. And so when people have that issue, they tend to not even try the things that they're afraid they can't be perfect at. Right? Because if I can't be perfect at it, then I will fail, and then I will not be worthy, and I will not be good. And so, this is something that takes more time to work on. We work on it a lot in my rapid recovery group. I mean, that group, listen, we can usually get people really doing the protocol effectively in the first 2 weeks. That's not the hard part. All right. If someone has food sensitivities or kidney issues where I have to keep making adjustments, that's different. But for the most part, getting the hang of the protocol, right? The majority of the time is undoing this stuff, to remove the downloads that aren't serving us, and to download new information about how we want to start treating ourselves. So I worked with her for about 90 minutes today and gave her a plan of the assignments I want her to keep working on, because listening to me one time can give you aha and a sense of release, but you'll eventually start listening to your brain again, right? I had one patient that told me the Dr. G effect lasts like a week to 2 weeks, and then your brain takes over again, so you have to, that was her words, but if you're working on it every day, then it starts to become your mind and your way of thinking. And this is a lot of the work that we do there. The rapid recovery group we have, August 22nd is our next one. And when I checked this morning, we only had 3 spots left. So if that's something you want to do, go to goodbyelupus.com and take it. We actually would have been full, but 3 people decided to upgrade to private programs. You can choose to work just with Thomas or myself privately with our cell phones back and forth instead of in the group. One person backed out. It made me sad because she brought it to her kidney doctor, and her kidney doctor said it wouldn't be good for her because of the potassium. And it's just breaking my heart, because I'm like, I know how to manage that. I've helped hundreds of people reverse kidney failure. I've published getting someone off the transplant list. I know how to manage it, but ultimately you have to make those decisions and, work with your doctors. And that's what she decided to do. But that means that we do have those 3 spots. So I don't expect them to last, but if that's something you want to do. Anyway, that's just for the people who are looking for that. But it does take daily work. So if you're not doing that work with me, make sure you have a therapist, someone you're working with, to address those things, because it's like a computer code in your brain, and it's going to keep playing that same code and running the same programs over and over again unless you do some code editing, unless you delete some files, maybe write some new code. That's what therapy is about, right? And that's what the daily emotional work is about. So what do you do about perfectionism? Well, in terms of the pathological kind, right? That one thing is trying to figure out where it came from. She was very clear on where it came from. That was, a lot of times it comes from very aggressive, judgmental parents. So for her, it was, being in a racist society and feel like I'm never going to be good enough. And so I'm going to be more perfect. But we can find usually the point where it started and who the bullies were in the beginning. And the key is you don't continue to be the bully to yourself, because now it's not what mom used to say or what society did to me or anything else. Now it's I'm choosing to say I'm not enough. I'm choosing to treat myself as if I can't. And I need to change that dialogue. I need to start talking to myself in the way that I deserve to be talked to, and raising that inner child inside of me in the way that they deserve to be raised. And so it's something going to be really important for you to start noticing it. And one of the things you can even do is if you know it was your dad was too critical and you hear that voice in your head, you go, that's just my dad. That's not the way I live anymore, right? So start making it more conscious. That's the first step, is where did it come from? Make it more conscious, start arguing with it, and then start trying, okay? The example I gave her, right now, I know a lot of you guys know my Solomon. My Solomon is now, he's going into his junior year of high school and he's thinking about college and he's very excited. And he has his sights on a very, very high level Ivy League school. He has a dream, and that's his dream. I've always I've never pushed my dreams on my kids. This is his dream. It's what he wants. And he got into a little bit of a slump. He had this goal for himself of how much he was going to study his SAT every day. He was going to master it, get ready. You need high SAT score. He's already a good test taker, but he's trying to, be the best he can be. And then he got into a slump, and he's like, I can't make myself study. I know what's wrong with me. Something's wrong, and my husband and I and Solomon, we talk about everything, and we just got into it and talked. And he finally came to realize, what if I try my hardest and I don't get it? And he said that was such a scary thought and made him not want to try, because what if? And so one, just express that fear. But then we helped him realize the goal of doing all this work right now is not to get into that school. The goal of doing all this right now is to turn you into someone who tries. Take a moment to think about that. When you try something, it's not about the goal. It's about the trying. The trying is what forms you into the person you are. My husband and I are both people who try. Anything we decide to do, we want to do it with our whole heart and soul all out. And if it works out, great. And if it doesn't, great. Then we figured out that that's not our path, or we found something different that we wouldn't have found had we not tried. But when you are someone who tries, you will achieve all the things you can. If my son doesn't get into the school he wants, that effort he put in will get him into other good schools. I'm sure he will be fine. And maybe if he doesn't get into the school he wanted, but instead his efforts get him into another school, and maybe that other school ends up being where he, meets the love of his life or discovers something amazing. It's not really about the outcome, but it's about the effort. The effort is what makes us the best version of ourselves. And yes, if you are trying to do Goodbye Lupus protocol, Goodbye Autoimmune Disease protocol, the goal is important, but it can't just be, my goal is I am completely free of all problems or illnesses, or I'm a failure, because that's not true. The goal is I'm going to do everything I can to be as healthy as I can be, to minimize my need for medication, to minimize the probability that I'm going to get sick, to minimize how often I need to go to the doctor, and to optimize my ability to live the best life I can live. And if that means no medications, 100% healthy, fabulous. If that means less medications and I feel good even though I take them, great, right? But you have to get out of that kind of all or nothing thinking that goes along often with that fear, and just let yourself be someone who tries. So if you are someone, I see people who are saying like, oh, sometimes the confusion gets me, or sometimes, the water's too hard, this and that. Just be willing to try. Just be willing to do it. And if you do that every day, if you just continue to try, and your brain goes, what if it doesn't work? And you'll go, well, then at least I tried. What if it does work? well, then this is going to be amazing. Right? Let yourself be free of the outcome and just take the actions you need to take every day. And if you do that 100%, you won't regret it. The patients I work with long regrets, it's never about the things they tried and failed. It's always about the things they didn't try. So many people come to me and said, I wish I'd done this sooner. I wish I'd said this thing. I wish I'd tried harder. People don't regret trying and failing. They regret not trying, not going all out. So release yourself from that and just focus on, I'll be someone who tries and I will get the best outcomes I can get. And that really is the key to success and happiness in life in general, not just in recovery. So I hope that helps all of you who are feeling stuck or feeling stressed. This is the kind of work you should expect if you're working with me, whether it's in rapid recovery or otherwise, that yes, I will pin down, here's what you should eat, here's how much, let me look at your symptoms, your energy, your sleep, all that stuff. And I get very technical and very specific. That's 100%. I will do that. But then it's time to get into the other parts of it and to make sure that everything you're doing is optimized, not just for your recovery, but for your happiness, for your quality of life. And that's going to make things better. Yesterday, I saw someone wonderful, another wonderful person. I swear, those of you who come to see me are all amazing people. And, she hasn't left her house because of disability. And so she sees all her friends on Zoom, which, as a senior citizen, I thought was pretty awesome that she does that. But I was like, first of all, we can get you out of the house. There are ways to do it. There are scooters, there are walkers, there are wheelchairs. You can't just be here on Zoom. People need to see all of you and you need the energy of other people. But why can't you invite someone over? And it blew her mind. She didn't even think of it. Like, oh my gosh, I could invite my friends over for tea or to play a card game. You don't have to wait until your legs work again in order for you to have a full life. Have a full life now in the body you've got, legs or no. And then what you're going to find is that, one, you're less sad about the fact that you have the disability because you still have richness in your life. Two, you will heal faster because happiness happens to accelerate your recovery process from any illness, whether it's an infection or autoimmune. So make sure that that's a part of your life I'm always going to be looking at those things for all of you, is how do we enhance your life and optimize it, not just with nutrition, but with thoughts, with kindness, with love, with trying, with expanding, with connecting. Because that's what I really feel like my job has always been, even as a physician, is it's not about labs and medications. It's about helping people live the best life they can. And that's what I'm still doing. So, and since I said the word medication and all that, I didn't give my blurb. This cannot replace medical care. Please talk to your doctor before doing anything that can affect your health or the way your medications work and all of that good stuff, which you all know. I'm online right now. I can't see you and treat you, but I'm going to do my best to answer your questions. I see the chats are going and going. First of all, I'm just so happy that right now we are able to stream into Smoothie Shred. I hope I solved it. Things are always changing, but I'm always changing with it. And I never quit trying so that I can make sure I can find a way. Okay. So Bonnie is saying on Smoothie Shred, I'm going through the same thing. I'm not doing anything. Yes, just today. Just do what you can to try today. Don't let anything stop you. Do the best version you can. It's easier to correct the course when you're moving, right? Just like a GPS. I always tell people, I'm your GPS. So your GPS doesn't say anything until you start driving. You ever notice that? It's frustrating for me because I have no sense of direction. My mom used to say that I would get lost in the backyard if you spun me around 3 times. Like I have no GPS in my head. So I'm very glad that GPS came out on phones. But what I don't like is when I start it, it doesn't tell me to start right or left. It waits till I start moving because the GPS doesn't know where I am until I start moving. It doesn't know what direction I'm facing. So I have to start driving and then it will say, make the next left, make the next right, or in my case, probably make a U-turn, right? So I'm the same way when it comes to helping people with their recovery, right? And this is what I want you to think of for yourself is you can't figure out all the things that may work or may go wrong ahead of time. You have to start moving. And once you start taking action every day, you'll be able to go, hey, this is working great. I'm going to keep doing this. Or, I think I might have made a mistake here. I think I might need some help. And then you'll know what help you need. And of course, if you don't know what help you need and you think you're doing everything right and you're struggling or you still can't make yourself start, then we do this one-on-one where I can see you back. Because right now I only see like a little name and a chat, right? But when I can see you and I can talk to you and I can hear you, then we can go deeper. So I do these coaching sessions for free to try to help as many people as I can for free. But if you want to talk to me, it's my favorite thing. So we do wellness appointments online, and of course, rapid recovery, you got to hear it every day. So if you don't like the sound of my voice, do not choose that. So let's see. So let me look over in Smoothie Shred and see what people are very excited. I'm excited too. All right, let's see. Okay, this is a good question. So Kimberly wants to know in Smoothie Shred, is hypernourishment plan meant to be for life or just a period of time? I think hypernourishment should be a way of life. I have been completely free of all diseases, lupus free. I don't have any of the symptoms, joint pain, kidneys are perfectly normal, no blood clots or blood clot antibodies. I have been totally lupus free, healthy for over 19 years. We're almost at 20 years soon. We'll be celebrating that in October. And I still do it, right? Because it is my insurance policy. I want to always have all those vitamins and minerals and all the phytonutrients, all the hydration in my system all the time, because you never know what's going to happen, whether it's a virus or, or an injury or anything like that, right? If you have an injury, you will heal faster from it. When our folks in our group get surgeries during the group, their doctors every single time say the same thing. You look like you've been healing for months. It's only been 2 weeks. How is that? The nutrients, right? So I will never give that up. And it keeps you, it actually reverses the aging of your organs. It slows down the aging of your organs once you get to that healthy point, so that you can look and feel younger. Feel is more important, but just it gives you this amazing vitality. So I think of hypernourishment as a way of life. Now, 20 years out, do I need to do it exactly every day? No, I'm not weighing everything. I'm not measuring everything. It's my lifestyle. I make my smoothies. I put my salad together. I'm making that food as a habit already. If I'm hungry for a snack, I'll grab the broccoli and a tub of guacamole and dig in. It's just a normal habit for me at this point. If I miss a day or something on a plane, I'm not worried. I'm fine. But yes, look at it as a way of life, and it will keep your health optimal, your energy optimal, and it really can prevent you from having relapse. The folks I see who did amazing, who end up relapsing later, it's always because they stopped everything. They got off track. They stopped doing the hypernourishment. They started adding junk stuff in. And if you keep eating inflammatory items and not putting in the antidote, then eventually you can create enough inflammation to create symptoms, especially if you haven't been in remission very long. People have only been feeling good for a matter of months. They might not be fully healed. They're just healthy enough to feel good, right? But they're not fully recovered yet. That's why if you, let's say, sprain your ankle, the moment it feels better, you don't start doing jumping jacks, because even though it feels better enough to walk, there might be some inflammation and tears that are healing on the inside in the lower levels. If you do some jumping, you're going to feel that pain again, right? Versus you've been in remission for a year. So yes, I always recommend that people keep the hypernourishment going as a way of life. Mackenzie, should we submit questions here? There's a little like Wellness Wednesday chat in Smoothie Shred. Yeah, you can totally do it there, or you can write it under the video. I can see both spots here. Okay. Mackenzie wants to know, I'm not dealing with any disease, but I want to get shredded. What should I be eating? I've been doing hypernourishment for 3 weeks. I've slimmed down a bit, and I haven't noticed any major changes yet. I want to be able to sustain whatever I do for the rest of my life. So Mackenzie, what I recommend is you actually do the Smoothie Shred protocol. So if you're in Smoothie Shred, if you go to smoothieshred.com, Thomas has videos all about how to do that. So you want to add the hypernourishment and then also the exercise. If you want to get shredded, you want to get ripped, you want that low body fat strength, you want to do the exercise too. So use the Smoothie Shred protocol. If you want something more aggressive, then Thomas's book, Miracle Metabolism, tells you how to add exercise for fat loss versus muscle building and the right way to really maximize the effects of the diets. But if you start doing the Smoothie Shred protocol, like doubling whatever your exercise is now, whether it's doubling your steps or the time you spend doing it or the heaviness of the weights or things like that, and you do the hypernourishment, you're going to start getting benefits. And then when you hit a plateau, then you're going to look at, how do I make my diet even more aggressive. So for example, you could even do something like the Goodbye Lupus protocol for your diet, and that's going to help you shred fat for sure. That's the original reason I did it. I didn't know it was going to get rid of the lupus. And then increasing the exercise. So that is usually the way that you go. All right, let's look over at Instagram. All right. And I'm sorry I'm looking away, but I've got a screen open for each place. So excuse my profile here. Let's see here. All right. So let's see, I'm getting lots of hello. Hi, Mission Hearts. Hi, Live It Sam. Tata Mahesh. I'm sorry if I'm Instagram names are always the hardest. How do we reverse type 1? Can we reverse type 1 diabetes? So maybe. I say it that way because I haven't really had the opportunity to do something early enough on to be able to say, ha, we got it in time, right? So with type 1 diabetes, usually people get diagnosed when they're a kid, and they are already put on the insulin. And by the time I see them, the autoimmune disease has been active for years. And so the beta cells, they're probably gone. The pancreas is not doing its job. They're not producing the insulin they need. They have to replace it. That said, everyone that I've worked with type 1 diabetes, so people with type 1 diabetes come to me often for other things that develop later. If you've got one autoimmune disease, you have a much higher chance of developing other autoimmune diseases, whether it's lupus or Hashimoto's or even type 1 diabetes, which is autoimmune. Everyone who's worked with me with type 1 diabetes has had to lower their insulin usage. So the question really becomes, and it's not something that we've tested, is it that they actually are making a difference in that autoimmune disease and they are having more activity in insulin production? Or is it that even with type 1 diabetes, they also had some insulin resistance as well? Little, that they weren't type 2, but they had some insulin resistance. And when they did my protocol, the insulin resistance went away. And so therefore the insulin that they took was more effective and they could lower it. I don't know the answer to that, but they definitely still get improvement. So it's still worth trying. Hi, Renee Coffee. Let's see. Okay. Love Dips Art. Hi, I'm from India. During my pregnancy in UK, I found I have antiphospholipid syndrome and it's positive after baby's born. So baby told me I need to take medicine for a lifetime, but we need to, then it just cuts off. And I'm on Instagram and I don't see anything after that. So I think you sent it too soon. If you're asking if it's an illness that can get better, absolutely. I had antiphospholipid antibody syndrome back in my 20s when I was in medical school, and it was severe. If I hadn't gotten treatment when I would have had a major stroke. I had multiple mini strokes. I used to get double vision when I was rounding in the hospital, and I didn't know why. And by the time I got to my doctor, I'd had multiple episodes. I was sending blood clots into my brain, and I'm just lucky that I didn't have a major stroke. But they found evidence of white matter lesions and things like that. So very, very lucky that I got on medication in time. And all of my antibody markers were high. They were anti-cardiolipin antibodies. They were all high. After doing my Goodbye Lupus protocol for 4 months, those antibodies disappeared and they've never come back. And that is back in 2005 that I had the negative lab test. I did continue taking blood thinners for a year after the negative tests were coming in because I don't want to have a stroke. I don't want any more things to happen. Having the mini strokes was the scariest thing I went through with lupus. Even the kidney issues did not scare me that way. Maybe because I was also younger and I understood less about what I had, and I just was raised by an immigrant family that that told me just listen to the doctor and everything will be okay. And I just did that, and thankfully I got through it. But as a medical student, I knew exactly what I had, and that was scary. And two, there was no plan B for me in my career. I already had an understanding that I was going to be physically disabled at some point because of the lupus and the arthritis, and if the kidney issues got worse again and all these other things. But I thought I could be disabled and be in a wheelchair and I can still be a doctor. But the idea that I could have a major stroke and lose everything, that was very scary. On top of that, it kind of made it more concrete that I would never be able to have children, they said, because I'm sure you got, you were put on medications and hopefully everything has been well, but it's very high risk because you're more likely to have blood clots when you're pregnant. And then, between the kidney failure and the blood clots and everything else there. So it's just kind of like more and more limitation to my life. I was injecting myself with blood thinners, but they said, well, if the blood thinners, they're going to work, but if you get into a car accident and hit your head, you might bleed out into your brain and you could die from a hemorrhage instead of a blood clot. It'll be a hemorrhage instead. So there was a lot more fear and scariness. So I say this to the point that I understand, to help you know that I understand this disease very well. And that's why even when I had no antibodies, well, I was fine with getting off the steroids and everything because I go, if my pain, anything comes back, I can just go back on them. The blood thinners, I didn't want to touch them, and my doctor didn't want me to go off of them. But after a year of no antibodies, a year of negative lupus markers, and no blood clot antibodies, that's when I decided to come off of my medication. My doctor did not want me to. And when I asked why, he said, you taking medicine treats my anxiety. And I was like, I don't want you to be anxious, but I hate the fact that I get a paper cut and I'm covered in blood, that that I'm bruised everywhere, right? And I don't want to have a hemorrhage if I fall into my head. I am very clumsy. I don't know if you all know that, but I am. And so I just wanted to try. But I told them we can keep retesting me, and if they come back, I will go back on it. And so it has been 19 years, and I have never needed it again. I am the first one, but I'm not the only one. If you watch my classes that are online, we have other people who within the 6 weeks of my groups, phospholipid markers were already negative. But we have lots and lots of people where not only do the other lupus markers go away in symptoms, but the APA antibodies go away as well. But you do want to be strict. And you can do it even when you're pregnant. You can do it when you're nursing. You can do this protocol, and it will not only get rid of these antibodies, but it's going to make you feel so much better. It is hard to have a new baby and also be sick. So hopefully this gives you some inspiration. And I hope that your baby's doing well, and congratulations on being a parent. I don't know if it's your first time out, but congratulations on having a new one there. Diana Bananas, having her smoothie. Love you back. All right. Food 45. That's a funny Instagram name for being on my Q&A. Wants to know, have I seen lipedema be reversed? I have had someone in my group have lipedema come down in the group. It was actually pretty awesome. She was measuring the circumference of her legs and watching it come down, and it was pretty awesome. We have seen it. I don't have a crowd of them, but it's not something we see often. But I have seen results, yes. Okay, let's see what, I know YouTube, you're waiting here. Okay, let's go ahead and see what YouTube's asking me. So Ella Akio on YouTube wants to know, the Goodbye Autoimmune protocol is great for my AS. That's fantastic. Oh, I'm so happy you're doing it. It is great for AS. If I get pregnant, can I continue with the protocol and half cup chia while pregnant? In Finland, they recommend 0 C's when pregnant because of the heavy metals in them. You absolutely can. In fact, studies have shown that that mothers who take omega-3s when they're pregnant, their babies have higher IQs because omega-3s are used to build your brain. And I remember when I was pregnant, my OBGYN said maybe I should cut back on the omega-3, but not because of heavy metals. She said it was because she was afraid my kids would be too smart and unrelatable, that I should. She was a funny OB. I like a funny doctor personally. But if you want to bypass that, just use cold pressed flaxseed oil. That way you're not getting the husk of the seed at all. You take a few tablespoons a day of the flax oil instead, and that will work. Okay. Mandy Hall on YouTube wants to know, hello, Dr. Goldner, I have a stubborn facial melasma after pregnancy, so I'm assuming it's hormone related. Have you seen anyone improve or erase their melasma with hypernourishment or the Goodbye Autoimmune protocol? Thank you for all you do. Well, you're welcome. And yes, I've seen that in my group. We had someone that I'm thinking of right now who wasn't there for the melasma. She was there for other autoimmune issues, but took pictures of herself and the melasma cleared up, and she was so excited, and it had been there for a long time. So absolutely, we have seen improvement in that. Okay, let's see here. Lovely me Jenny. Could iron deficiency with or without anemia and or iodine deficiency prevent healing? Okay, so I wouldn't say it can necessarily prevent healing. You can still get cellular repair, but it will prevent you from feeling healed. If you have low iodine, you're going to have some issues. You're going to have low energy. You're going to have hair loss. You can have anemia, which makes you feel, faint or lightheaded. It's going to be problems. If you have low iodine, you're going to have lower thyroid hormone. Then that can make you have weight gain or feel sluggish, or brain fog. Also can cause things like hair loss or hair thinning, dry skin, et cetera, et cetera. So you can still have the cellular repair process happening while having those deficiencies, but you're not going to feel healthy. And that's really the goal, right? Is to feel healthy. Could the Goodbye Lupus protocol be done with spinach being the only veg? I have seen people do it. I really like people to have something cruciferous, because cruciferous vegetables, even though spinach is amazing, spinach can go head to head with cruciferous vegetables in most ways. And that's why I allow it to be considered one of the high nutrient vegetables that you can add to your smoothies. But there are some ingredients in cruciferous that aren't there, like sulforaphane, for example, in high amounts. So I would say I would add some cruciferous somewhere, whichever one you like, but you can use spinach primarily. Most people can without any issue. I know people are afraid of it sometimes, but I have seen many, many people over the years do well with it. That's the green they use in their smoothies, and then they eat other veggies in their salads and they don't have an issue. Okay, let's see here. All right, let's come down to Facebook, my Facebook page. All right, Christina de Boucher, are we French? Probably butchered it. My brother has glomerulonephritis and follows a whole food plant-based vegan diet. How many bananas can he safely eat daily due to concerns about potassium? That sounds like it was a math problem, right? Like if someone has this, someone has that. Okay. I can't actually answer it, Christina. And the reason is the potassium intake is going to be very dependent on his labs. So this is experience that I've amassed over many, many years of doing this protocol. I will never forget the first person with lupus nephritis that I worked with whose potassium went up. I had other people, they just did fine and their kidneys got better. Hallelujah, got off the transplant, everything's going great. And then this one person, her potassium spiked and she yelled at me. and then I had to learn, and I became even better at understanding how the food would affect the labs. It's why I test labs every week in people with low enough kidney function that they could have these abnormalities. And so now, after all these years, I'm actually really good at it. I don't have that problem anymore. But that was a learning process. That's not something taught in medical school. It's something that, especially with hypernourishment, right? So thankfully, she stuck with me, by the way, and she reversed the lupus nephritis completely and became one of my biggest fans. She loves me now. But it was a moment, right? So I've had to learn this over the years. And what I've learned is I have to base it off of the current kidney function. So if I have the labs, then I can look at the labs and then I can say, here's your starting dose. And then of especially high nutrient vegetables. And then we get the next set of labs and I can see where we are. And then I can decide if I'm going to add more or if I want to keep it where it is or dial it back and this and that. So it's a very methodical process. And it's interesting because even people with the same kidney function don't always respond the same way, which is why I like that follow-up lab within a week, because then I know what to do. I understand. I have to learn each individual person's kidneys, right? So I would say just out the gate, if he is told that he needs to be on low potassium because his kidneys are so severe, he shouldn't be eating bananas at all, because we're going to have to use whatever potassium he's allowed should be coming from the high nutrient vegetables that can help his kidneys recover. If his kidneys are sick, he really shouldn't be on just a regular plant-based diet. He should be on my Goodbye Lupus protocol. because that is going to be the most effective. But again, if he's on the Goodbye Lupus protocol and he's been told he needs to be on low potassium, I can't give him the dosage without analyzing his condition and his labs, and then I'd be able to do that. So broadly speaking, if he's told that he should be on a low potassium diet, then he shouldn't be eating high potassium foods like bananas at all. And then be looking at what are the highest nutrient, low potassium foods, especially foods that are hypernourishing, so that we can reverse the illness. So yeah, it's the experience that I've had has shaped what I do now so much. When I published Goodbye Lupus, it was like I'd helped 100 people. Now it's been thousands. And so, and many of those people have been people I've worked with every single day. And so that's why my protocol has gotten so much more specific, right? And while the key components are the same, we become much more specific and regulated. And it's why even, every group is not quite the same. Like we always are looking to optimize and to get better at what we do. And you can't replace experience. That's why I always tell people, when someone says, what about if my doctor says this or that? I'm like, well, do they have experience in nutrition for disease reversal? No. I'm like, well, then they're just thinking thoughts. The things I thought would work versus the things in my experience worked, those are not the same. I mean, man, I thought diet had nothing to do with lupus. And then I accidentally healed from lupus when I went on this protocol thinking it was just to lose weight. So I have been humbled by experience, and it's allowed me to grow and get better at what I do. So, but that's the best I could give you for at least a starting point, a jumping off point for your brother. I hope he does it. I hope he gets better. All right. Melissa Posani-Abad, how do you feel about fasting and autophagy as a strategy for rebuilding damaged cells? Do you think it's an effective way to reverse disease and can be done while doing your rapid recovery protocol? So there's definitely some good data that people can get a kind of boost from fasting, especially if you're eating a really inflammatory diet. That said, I have never needed to use fasting. Hypernourishment's the opposite of fasting, right? So fasting is, I'm going to put nothing in my body and let my body just start to try to function, right? And I always think it's interesting how for some people, not eating is better for them than eating anything they were eating before, right? But we're doing something very different with hypernourishment. We are optimizing the nutrition that your body uses for cellular repair, right? So if you're my rapid recovery program, because the rapid recovery, it's not a protocol. My rapid recovery program, that's a program where you work with me every day. You're on the Goodbye Autoimmune Disease protocol in that program with my oversight every day, my breath on your neck. How are you doing? How are you feeling? Let me see what you're eating. Let me see how this is working. What are the thoughts that you had? Oh, you fell down. Let me see what you tripped over, right? It's an intense amount of oversight. But in that program, we are hyper-nourishing you to the max that your body can use, right? So it's why when we put people in those in my rapid recovery programs, I start them on even higher amounts of food than just hypernourishment, because I'm aggressively watching them and seeing how they're doing and able to make adjustments. Sometimes if people try to overdo it and then they get fiber overload or other issues and then they quit. And then, so it's a highly supervised program. But we are doing the opposite of fasting. We are giving you an overdose of the nutrition your body uses for cellular repair, to reverse damage to cells and organs, to optimize immune function. So I prefer it because I'm one of those people. How many of you get hangry? I don't get hangry, but I'm not in a good mood when I'm hungry. I don't like it. I'm just I don't like how that feels. I like to have food in my belly. And so for me, I'm just really glad that hypernourishment works so well. I've had people come to me from water fasts, and they'll say, yeah, when I was fasting, I actually felt really good and I didn't even have pain. And then they put me on the step down program. I added whole food plant-based back, and then pain all came back. So whatever it wasn't enough to finish the job, and you can't just fast forever. You need to be able to eat in a way that allows your body to repair itself. Is anybody hearing any extra stuff? I'm thinking about adding my earbuds just because I hear my husband enthusiastically in session next door, and I don't know. He gets loud and he echoes. So I'm going to try putting these on, but I want to make sure you can still hear me. Can you guys give me a thumbs up if you can still hear me? Maybe you can check to make sure. Can you hear me? On all the places, let me know that you can still hear me. I just want to make sure we're all on noise cancellation mode so that we all good?
I just want to make sure.
All right, we can all hear? Okay, cool. All right. I love my husband, but I know you're here to listen to me today. All right, let's see here. All right, let me go down back to Smoothie Shred. Let's check over here. I'm so happy that we're here broadcasting a Smoothie Shred today. All right, thanks for the thumbs up, Wendy. All right, Anika wants to know if this works for CIDP. Yes, we have had some remarkable stories from people with CIDP, just from crawling on the floor to make a smoothie to running kind of recoveries from my group. It's definitely a really important thing you could do. All right. Kim writes, I'm so thankful my daughter found you. She's in remission from RA and myself from fibromyalgia, GERD, IBS, CFS, and bursitis in both heels. I'm 64, suffering hair loss. I don't take supplements. Should I be? Well, first of all, Kim, congratulations. That's such an amazing list. Let me do it again. RA, fibromyalgia, GERD, IBS, CFS, bursitis, both heels. Like, you just turned the clock back, right? Like Superman flew around the planet in reverse and got you back to like 20 years ago, right? So fabulous. I'm so happy that you and your daughter did this. I love this so much. Hair loss. 64 and hair loss, what could it be? There's so many factors when it comes to hair loss. And Kim, you've probably seen that I've done a lot of videos about hair loss because it's so multifactorial. So what are some things you can check right away? One, you can check your iron levels, as I mentioned, iron and ferritin, and see. For some folks, that's one of the early signs of having low iron is that they have some hair loss. Sometimes it can be hormone related. A lot of folks, a lot of women will say that their hair got thinner or changed texture through menopause times. So that's a possibility. That could be hormonal. Check that you're taking your iodine every day. So if you are not taking enough iodine and your thyroid's a little bit slow, it might not be slow enough that you notice it, but maybe that could be the reason. I'd be looking at that. So I'd be looking at those things as starting points, Kim, and see if one of those solves it. All right. And hopefully that'll fix it. But I'm so happy for you. I mean, this is a great recovery. Great recovery. All right, let's see here. Okay. Let me see. So Cassandra is saying, I was born with Raynaud syndrome. It never bothered me up until 2022. Now I found out I have something called Crest syndrome. So that comes from scleroderma. On top of that, I have high scleroderma levels. So as I just said, rheumatoid arthritis, gastroparesis, fibromyalgia, scoliosis, slip discs in my back, a lot going on with my body. I'm under treatment with rheumatology now and now pulmonary critical care. I cut out all the caffeine. I only drink water, hot tea without caffeine, sometimes juice. I don't really eat a lot because of the gastroparesis. I'm supposed to eat 12 small meals a day because I also have hypoglycemia. It's very stressful. My rheumatologist says I'll have to take steroids and antibiotics for the rest of my life. I'm so sorry you're going through all this. So yes, Cassandra, actually all of the things that you've mentioned are likely related to the systemic sclerosis or scleroderma. That will cause issues with the stomach. It'll cause issues with the lungs. It causes issues with, your blood flow, as the Raynaud's, as you mentioned, arthritis, all of those things. The scoliosis, that might just be genetic. I was born with scoliosis too and had to wear a back brace when I was younger. But all this other stuff, that's part of the inflammatory issue, right? The good news is the protocol works really well for it, even for gastroparesis. I've had extraordinary results in that. And I remember the first person who signed up for my 4-week program with gastroparesis, we were both a little nervous because she has had gastroparesis for so many years that she was emaciated. She was like 80 pounds, emaciated, and she could barely eat a few bites at a time. And I said, you want to try doing my all raw foods, give up the really calorically dense stuff, because she would try to eat like beans and potato for that little meal to try to get some calories in her system to give this a go. And she goes, yeah, I have nothing to lose and I'm miserable and I want to try. And so I worked with her every day. And in the beginning, she couldn't get in more than 8 ounces of leafy greens by the end of the day. 8 ounces by the end of the day. Plus we got in some flax oil, some water. By the end of 4 weeks, 28 days, she was getting in 24 ounces a day, 24 ounces a day of cruciferous vegetables, plus chia pudding, plus water. It worked. And she was able to put weight on. It completely got rid of it. It was just so cool. It was so cool. But I was a little nervous too. Because I'm like, if you can only eat a couple bites a day and it's just, yes, you're getting more nutrition in, but oh my goodness, right? But it really worked for her. So I like that, if they're saying have 12 meals a day, maybe you make that smoothie and you cut it into 12 portions. And at least when you consume food, you're getting something that's going to give you nutrition, that's going to help the actual scleroderma issue. I had someone with scleroderma that affected her lungs who were on steroids for 20 years, and she was able to get off the steroids after doing. She did my private rapid recovery, but was able to get off of her steroids the first time in 20 years and go running. Right, so it really does help. The protocol does quickly reduce inflammation in the lungs. You might have heard me before talking about like a gentleman in his 70s with he had interstitial lung disease. He did my rapid recovery group. I think his daughter made him, but she did it with him to help him. And he got off the lung transplant list. He was going back and they just he'd go back once a year and they'd say, nope, still too healthy. So it really is worth doing to help your symptoms. I know it can be more difficult when you've got the gastroparesis. So I'm giving you an outline to try. And if you need more help, then work with me directly and let's see how we can optimize your nutrition with all of the different restrictions you have, get you as healthy as you can get. But that's a good place to start, okay? Let's see what else we got in here. Michelle says, I deal with constant inflammation and mucus. Will this help with that? Well, constant inflammation, yes. Mucus, I don't know. It depends what it's from. It can. Absolutely, it can. I will never forget someone in my group who said that she normally, if you're mucus sensitive, cover yours, she normally had to start her day with bread to clear the mucus out of her throat so she could swallow anything else. And I was like, bread's out of the question. We're not doing bread. And she thought she wasn't going to be able to eat. She wasn't going to be able to function. And she realized halfway through the group, oh my gosh, I just realized I don't have any mucus. I can swallow, I can breathe, nothing's there. So we've definitely seen it. But I don't know if it's related to an allergy or something else. It's possible for allergies, but not always. It depends on the person. Some people, they've just had an allergy since they were little and they still have it. And other folks have developed allergies along the way and they get better. Still worth trying though. Absolutely worth trying. Okay, let's see here. Back to Instagram. Okay, let's see. All right. I have to keep scrolling down because as people add more, it moves up. Okay. Let's see. Oh, you guys are all trying to help each other. It's so cool. Someone just asked me this today. If I have people who work for me answering questions in Smoothie Shredder on the lives, I do not. So if somebody's answering your questions, they're just someone else who's listening, who's trying to help, and they may or may not give you the advice that I would have given. It's a coin flip there. Oh, hi, Natalia and Poland. Okay. All right. All right. Plant-based grandma. If possible, can you share any info of getting rid of fatty liver? Plant-based grandma. That's a great name. Yeah, we actually have really great results for that. So usually nowadays, it used to be that fatty liver disease was because of alcoholism. When I was in medical school, that was the cause, was alcoholism. And then as time has passed and obesity has become more and more prevalent, ultra processed foods have become more and more part of people's diets. Now we actually see it where they had to develop a new diagnosis. It's not new anymore, but I've been around for a while. That called non-alcoholic fatty liver disease to describe the condition where people who are not drinking excessive alcohol are getting fatty liver because of their diet, because of sugar, because of ultra processed food. And we have seen very dramatic and rapid results. Usually people's liver disease goes away within 3 weeks on our program for most folks that we see, whether it's fatty liver disease or even autoimmune hepatitis. Okay. All right. Bike Lady Jag, can I participate with gastritis, acute pernicious anemia, and stomach carcinoids? I would say that getting you nourished is going to be essential for your health. In terms of going immediately onto full levels that we would use in the protocol, that might take some time because I don't know how all this is affecting your ability to eat. So sometimes people with gastritis actually feel better when they have something like my smoothies. And then other people, it irritates them. So this might be one where you need some personal help. But yes, could you do this in some way and work on this? Absolutely. The specifics to how to train your gut to be able to get the food in, that might require actually a consultation, so I can figure that out. And Natalie wants to know, where are you located for in-person consultation? Actually, I do everything online. I now have an international wellness practice, so I see people all over the world. And if you go to goodbyelupus.com, you can book an appointment, and you'll see me like this, but I'll see you too. So that's really cool. We can do it over Zoom or FaceTime, or for folks that are really old school, we do it over the phone. So, okay, let's see. Okay, let's go back over to YouTube. Up, CR. Rebecca, Dr. G, did you say there's room in the group? Before, as of this morning, there were 3 spots. I haven't checked since this morning, but I had to upgrade some people, and so there's 3 spots left as of this morning. I don't know if right now there's still 3 spots, but if you know that you want to be in the group, now would be the time to grab it. Okay, let me see. Some of you are answering. So Jackie said, does it help with eczema? Nicole said, it helped my eczema a lot. So that's always great. When you can give something personal back, do that. Definitely. But if someone has a question about something specific for their, the protocol, be careful. Let me see here. Oh, I love seeing each other celebrating. Okay. Outdoors fan, how are arteries affected on your protocol? It's actually really good for arterial health. Typically what we see is within the first 3 weeks, people who are taking blood pressure medicines have to lower them or come off of them because their arteries are now relaxing, their blood pressure has come down, their heart's much healthier. We have seen people even with heart failure have dramatic improvements in their health in a matter of days on our program, even when they're being fed in the hospital. So it's very good for artery and for heart health. Absolutely. Okay. Aaron wants to know, does this help with spinal atrophy due to MS? So if you're asking about atrophy of the spinal muscles, no, the only thing that will reverse atrophy of muscles will be exercise. So I've helped a lot of people with MS reverse their condition. When I say reverse an MS, I'm talking about you no longer have active disease. We check your MRIs, there's no new lesions. And for the people that I've worked with that have rechecked it, all except one not only had no new lesions, but had the most recent lesion gone. So that tells us it's not active, right? For most folks, it also means the most recent symptoms go away. There are some people who literally are able to walk and run and everything again like they did before. And then there's some folks where they have improvement in their disability, but those old lesions are still, they've created a problem. However, with there is neuroplasticity. There's a thing called neuroplasticity, and even in your arterial system, we have the ability to grow, right? And the thing that accelerates the growth of muscle tissue and nerve cells and blood vessels is exercise. So anyone who works with me with MS, I always strongly encourage that they do physical therapy every single day. So for example, if you've got atrophy of muscles in your back, then you want to be using physical therapy to exercise those muscles to the best of your ability every single day. Because when you do that, you are going to encourage the branching of nerves and blood vessels to that area, because your body goes, oh, we're exercising. I need to grow those muscles. I need more blood vessels. I need more nerve branching. So you can have a potential for even bypassing some of the issues and gaining in strength, but you have to do the exercise to do it. Food alone will not cause that. So it will cause repair of damaged neurons, damaged cells, the nutrition will do that. But to actually have increased ability, that's going to be the exercise, right? I had somebody in my rapid recovery group who, he couldn't walk without a cane, and he couldn't go upstairs for 3 years. And at 3 weeks in, he posted a video into the group. We have a beautiful little community in our group. Posted a video of himself walking up the stairs. But it was very scary, that video, because he had no coordination. His legs were like shaking. But it was a miracle. But he was weak. And he said, my next goal is a 5K. He's going to have to exercise, right? So the next step would be, now that the nerves are working and he can actually tell his body to move upstairs, tell his legs to move, he needs to build all that muscle back, because all the muscle atrophied because he wasn't using it. So that's the other part of it. So I hope that makes sense. Okay. And Lavila Victoria, how do you get more vitamin D, please? Vitamin D, that's something you should supplement. I've heard over the years a lot of things that don't work, 15 minutes a day in the sun. It doesn't work. I wish it did. It doesn't work. I go outside jogging as part of my boot camp every day, and I like to be out in the sun. I like to be out in the pool. I still have low vitamin D without supplementing. It's not enough. Because why? Because we spend most of our time in these houses we've built ourselves, right? So what I found is that you need to supplement, and it's important to, because if your vitamin D, we call it a vitamin, but it's really a hormone that's necessary for proper immune function. It's also necessary for skin health, for hair health, for energy levels. So I really recommend that you take a vitamin D supplement, and we should all take it daily. I still take my vitamin D supplement too as well. Let me see. Mindy on Facebook wants to know, can you do the protocol after having had breast cancer and on Herceptin and Perjeta for 1 more month, 3 more infusions? Yes, you can. Absolutely. And you should. 100%. Definitely. Okay, let's see here. Let's see here. Looking for more questions in this. All right, I'm going to just do a quick one because it's late. Jeannie, can I take Irish sea moss for iodine with Hashimoto's? The thing about using things like sea moss or other things is you have to know the dose. Not enough iodine is a problem. Too much iodine can cause toxicity as well. So make sure you're staying within the guidelines and not overdoing it. So that would be the biggest issue. All right, let me see. Oh, thank you, Dolores Drummond. Okay, let me see. Okay, Esther wants to know, is it possible green smoothies can increase aches and pains of lupus and arthritis? Thanks for everything you do. They should actually be helping you get better. But that said, sometimes early in healing, like in the first week or so, especially if you're doing the full protocol, you might feel a spike in pain, but then that should get better. If you're having increase in aches and pains, then it's either not the smoothies, there's other stressors going on in your life, or if it is, then maybe you have a food sensitivity. But no, the goal is the ingredients in the smoothies actually accelerate cellular repair and bring down inflammation. So it's to bring the pain down. But yes, sometimes people will feel a spike initially. Okay. And let's see, one more over here. All right. Rachel Bolt, have you seen people reverse sarcoidosis? I have, yes. And let's scroll down, pick somebody from Instagram. Like you've been enjoying the coaching from the beginning. All right. And okay, Sugarfoot's, I've been on green smoothies for 9 days. I have bad constipation. Please help. All right. Few things to do. Number one, make sure you're maximizing your water intake. If you're 120 pounds or heavier, go for that full gallon of water a day. Make sure you get your teaspoon of sodium a day in with that. Number two, maybe try using flax oil instead of flax or chia seeds. Kind of let things get a little bit more slippery. See if that makes a difference. Sometimes if someone's gut's real weak, increasing their fiber actually, even though it's supposed to help, can make things slow down because the gut's just not strong enough to process it. So I would start there. If you haven't gone at all in 9 days, listen, I'm not working with you, so I don't know everything else you're doing, but you should talk to your doctor about what would be the right thing to take. Some people will just take magnesium. That helps things go as a supplement. If there's no contraindications, you can use magnesium citrate. But sometimes people need to take an actual laxative medication, because if you're not going at all, that can become a medical emergency. And since I can't see you, I have to refer you that way. Okay, well, everybody, that hour and 5 minutes went very quickly. I hope that this gave you a lot of good information. Especially remember, this is about learning to be good at trying. Go all out. You will never regret going all out for your health and for your life. The only regrets you have are the things that you didn't do, right? So do this thing. If you're here right now, you're in the sound of my voice, then it's not a mistake. It's not an accident. It's not a coincidence. It's your message here for you, okay? And thank you, all of you, for participating. When I'm done for the day, I'm going to keep reading because I saw some celebrations going on. I see you, Nicole. But there's a lot of folks out there that are celebrating as well, and I want to see them all. For those of you who are going to be joining my group, make sure that today is the day that you do that, because I don't know that those spots will be here tomorrow. They're goodbyelupus.com. And for all the rest of you that are just working off of the free information, free coaching, make sure you click the link in my profile or with this post so that you get all the resources that you need. If you need recipes to make it taste good, Goodbye Lupus, Hello Delicious, that book is worth getting for the recipes. But do the best you can today. And don't let confusion or imperfection stop you from just trying all out. And I'll see you next week. All right, everybody, I'll see you next time. Thank you all for showing up today. I'll see you next time.